Good evening. Hello, and welcome to the Power of Passive Investing meetup, everyone. We have an incredible guest today, and when I say incredible, I really do mean it. Derek, in addition to being an incredible guest, is also a dear friend. He's going to share with you a little bit about his journey. But before that, let me start by sharing my screen and giving everyone the usual spiel, kind of. I'll do the presentation format to make it easy. So Matt and I are your hosts, and we're thrilled to have you guys with us today. We always put the disclaimer out because our attorneys require to let you know that this is strictly for educational purposes and hopefully for some fun, as you'll hear tonight. We're not selling anything, not providing any services, and always consult with your professionals on anything that you're deciding to invest in or participate in. We hope that this is an interactive. I know we're in a webinar format, but I made sure that everyone has access to chat and it's enabled. So if you want to start typing your questions or saying hello to someone, by all means, feel free to do so. Derek is actually a retired corporate professional who was single family and then became a multifamily real estate investor. He's a coach, podcaster, and a fund manager with over 60 million under management. He and his wife Sophie are now traveling the world while running their business and real estate portfolios, and they call home wherever their current Airbnbs are booked. He will share with you where his current location is, and I'm sure you're gonna understand how much fun it is for Derek and Sophie. With a focus on pursuing 3 degrees of freedom, location, time, and financial, Derek is super passionate about sharing his knowledge, especially on internal systems and processes that have helped him achieve success at scale, quickly, reliably, and all part-time. We're thrilled to hear about how can other people also master the productivity and growth and follow in Matt's footsteps. And as always, Matt and I are your hosts. These are our emails. Feel free to reach out to us at any time. If you have any suggestions about guest speakers or want to talk to us directly or have questions about real estate or investing, feel free to reach out to either one or both of us. And without any further ado, let me stop sharing my screen. Derek, the floor is yours. Feel free to
All right.
share.
Well, thank you, Alina and Matt, for having me on the podcast, or I'm sorry, the webinar. And it's been a long time coming. I think we tried to do this last time, and I was sad to have not been able to join last time, but super glad to be here and really, really excited to help serve your audience. And one thing I want to say too is I really appreciate you introducing me because one of the things that we talk about is the why as to what we're doing, what we do. So today we're going to be talking about, how to use VAs effectively, and then also how to use your VA in a very intelligent way to scale your social media presence if that's what you're trying to do, and generate a whole bunch of content from a little bit of stuff, right? That's really what the main topic is. But just to give you guys a little bit of an idea as to why we're doing this is my wife and I are traveling right now. And as Alina mentioned, we don't have a home per se because my wife and I are just nomadic. We like to travel from place to place. And so we are currently talking to you from Kyoto, Japan. And we're in month number 1 of a 3-month expedition in the country of Japan, in Japan. We've been wanting to do this for a really long time, and COVID has made it difficult. And this year we're finally able to do it. And we're really passionate about location freedom because that also leads to time freedom, and then time freedom and location freedom leads to financial freedom. And so I like to talk about how people can not look at financial freedom as this one giant goal that you're going to get to one day, right? Like you're going to wait for 20 years, you're going to save up and start building passive income through investing with Matt and Alina or whoever else, and eventually get yourself to replace your active income with your passive income coming in from your investments. I encourage you to think about, what is it going to take for me to become locationally independent, whatever that means to me. If you have kids, maybe that means during the summer, you go and spend that in Europe, right, with your kids when they're off from school. Or maybe if you don't have kids, it's literally living fully nomadic like we are. Whatever that means, you have the ability and the freedom to be able to travel anywhere if you so desire. That's location freedom. And then time freedom is systems, setting up systems and processes to allow you to not have to work 8 hours, because what good is it if you are still working either a full-time job that's fully remote, or you have a business that is requiring you to work 8 hours a day while you're out traveling? That makes no sense either. So my wife and I became completely obsessed with the ability to pick up and go wherever we wanted to, and putting processes and installing the right people in our organization to be able to do things very quickly. Because if you think about what the high level achievers do, right? They are CEOs of their companies, and all they need to do every day is make decisions. So the closer you can get to being someone where you show up for a 1 hour meeting, your employees already have processes and procedures, a standard operating playbook, so to speak, and they come to you with problems, and you make decisions and say, this is what needs to happen here, this is what needs to happen here, and this is what needs to happen here. That is how you can get your time freedom built up. And this is just an example of what I'm about to show you, is an example of how to do that for just social media, and how to delegate, right? And how to build that system around you. Eventually, you'll be able to get to a point, once you set something up, that you can have another assistant maintain your system for you, or run your system for you, or even set it up for you. And so that way you have like a head integrator, and then you're just the person making the decisions, so that you can free yourself up to either create new projects within your organization, pursue new projects or new acquisitions, in my case, for instance, or start up new companies, right? That's the whole thing, is you want to start to slowly put a process to everything that you're doing, including what your current operations are. So hopefully that makes sense. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a background as to why this is so important to me and why I'm so passionate about this type of thing. And so without talking any further on this, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and I'm going to show you what my delegation process looks like. Okay. So first, let me see if I can get my screen going. Okay, here we go. So,
Derek, as we're getting set up, I have two kind of just initial early questions or tee-ups. Is like, when did you start this lifestyle, or when did this all kind of come about, and like, did you slowly work your way towards it, or was it like a jump right in
yeah,
lifestyle?
good.
Curious before you get into it.
Yeah, good question. So just to keep this brief, it was in the middle of COVID when this started happening. I was still working a full-time job, about two years ago or so. And 3 years ago is when COVID started. Man, I can't believe it's been 3 years already. But COVID started about 3 years ago, and I already had like a portfolio that I was building on the side. And when COVID came, it gave me the ability to work my current job remotely. And a funny thing happened, right? We started looking at, okay, if we could pick anywhere to live in the country, would we live in the place that we were living at that time? And unfortunately, my wife, she was practicing as a medical practitioner. She's a doctor, and her brick and mortar business shut down because of COVID, because no one knew what was happening, right? So she started shifting to going online, and then we realized that we could work from anywhere, because I could work from anywhere and she could work from anywhere. And we asked that question: would we live in the place that we had chosen to live, because of her brick and mortar? And the answer is no. So we sold our house and we've gained location independence. And here's the coolest thing about this, Matt, is that when we got location independence and we were traveling around, when we were living in the Bay Area, we had to spend at least $12,000 a month just to live in the Bay Area, because you have a mortgage, you have taxes, you have food, which is expensive, transportation, all these things add up to be quite a lot of money when you're living in the Bay. And it turns out, when I had passive income of about 5 grand or 6 grand at the time, right? But it turns out that when you become locationally independent, we could live in the Midwest, even in an Airbnb, or we could be in Mexico in an Airbnb, and you'd be completely financially independent. And if we're still working and we're still generating income through the internet, you can see how we first got our location freedom, and then that started slowly shifting into time freedom, but then we kind of jumped right away to financial freedom. And so it got me thinking, it's like, why don't people think about this more? Like, why aren't people, instead of keeping their lifestyle the way they are, like, know that there's a layer to things, right? Like, you can do one layer at a time and start to tackle these things. And when you get your location independence, to me, that's like halfway of getting to financial independence, because you can go where you want to go, right? So why not try doing that now and setting your lifestyle up right now in that way, so you can preview it, because maybe it's not all that you wanted it to be. Maybe it's not what you really, really want in the end. So life is about experimentation and trying to live while you can, right? So while still being responsible and keeping an eye to the future. So long story, but short answer to your question was about 3 years ago is when it all started.
Appreciate the color. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Great question. All right. And by the way, guys, I've been told to before we were hitting record on this, that if you guys have any questions, that you would put them in either the chat or the Q&A. So please do, if you have questions for me or for Alina and Matt, would love to see you guys interact with me. And I want this to be interactive too. So if you have anything, please let us know. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And on the screen, the first thing is that I want to show you guys, this is my email, okay? I don't mind showing you this email just because I know it's confidential and stuff, but I know that you guys are all good folks and you won't take the screenshot, and there's no information here anyway that I'd be uncomfortable sharing. But what I do is I have my email inbox is very simple. I've got a starred section, an unread section, and everything else below. And I have all of these filters that is basically allowing me so that any email that comes in, there's something that it's going to already. It's going to either be marked as like a category, like for instance, a broker communication, or something that my virtual assistant did, or something that has to do with podcasts or whatever. And then it's marked as read. So I'm at inbox 0 every day without any effort. So that way I'm in control of who is talking to me at any time, right? And if I want to reach out to someone, then I can search my email inbox for the history of that. And I have all of these intricate things, built in. And the reason I start with email is because it's the gateway to the outside world. Like, it's your gatekeeper. So I use Asana to manage tasks. And this is the basis of me assigning tasks and keeping things straight for myself and also for my VA. So for instance, I have it plugged into Gmail here. So if I wanted to take, for instance, this email right here, if I wanted to create a task in Asana, I can do that straight from, I can do this straight from my email, okay? And you'll see why that's important. But essentially everything that I need to do is managed inside of Asana. And the reason that I have this all, this one I just got done. The reason I have this all inside of Asana is because if I have tasks for myself in one place that I can put in and say, I got to do this, I got to do that eventually, right? Like at some point in time, I have the ability to give this to someone else, to my VA, because it's all in one place. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And I know I'm going fast because I have a limited amount of time here, but the way that this works is, here is my board with my virtual assistant. Okay. I have 4 categories. I have a backlog, I have an in progress column, I have a ready for approval column, and a complete column. And anytime I've got some sort of task that the virtual assistant needs done, or that I feel they need to be completed, I just put it in here into this project. And then as my virtual assistant works on it, he has access to this. He can drag cards from one place to the next, if that makes sense. And to make things simpler, right? Like, this was my task. So these are the things that I use to track myself. So whenever I get like an email coming in, right, from this, like, let's say, just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and create a task here. I'm going to say, follow up on some, whatever. I'm going to make the due date tomorrow on this. And let's just say, handle this, right? I put more specific details in this to my virtual assistant, but I would say, handle this, please. And then I'm going to go ahead and create the task. And if we go into Asana here, you'll see that it just popped up here. And the cool thing is that it has the Gmail right here. in this, or the email right here in this. And so if you need to actually look at it, you can click on this link and it will pop up in a separate tab. And this is what the full email looks like. But the cool thing is, I don't know why it's not showing up there, but generally it will show up here. This is the message, and I can give some instructions to my assistant, or I can wait for myself to do this later. I can assign this to myself. So if I wanted to assign this to my VA, here's how simple it is. I pick the name for my assistant and I add it to a project that I want to, and there we go. Now it's hidden with this, right? So the delegation is part of this intricate process that I have that's set up with all of my assistants, so that they know that as soon as this comes in, this is due tomorrow. So they better jump on this, and they'll probably message me. And if they do message me, they will do it right here within the task itself, so that it's not like I'm not having emails flying out all over the place, right? Or WhatsApp messages or anything. It's all inside of this particular task. Okay.
Derek, sorry, just quick pause. Two questions. The first is, the obvious thing is that you're acquiring a license for Asana, and I imagine you're also acquiring the license for your VA and anyone else that kind of falls into your sphere of potential assignees.
No, actually, this is free. This is the free version.
Oh,
of
this is
Asana.
all free version.
Yes.
That's exciting. Okay, good.
Yes.
Good for the audience to know. I've used
That's
Asana.
right.
I don't recall which functionality was free or not, because I've had a paid version, but this is good.
Yeah. So the free version is it allows you up to 15 people to work on your team, and you can create unlimited projects and unlimited stuff. And what I really like about Asana is that it allows you to look at things. So here's the information in the board form. Here's the same information in a list form, right? So here's the sections, right? Now, to-do backlog, the in-progress things. You notice that it's the same as this board here, right? The other thing is that I can look at a calendar view and see when things are due. So these are when all the things are due. Now, when you get the premium, right? When you upgrade to the premium, you got to pay per person, right? And I think it's anyone after 15 people, then you have to start paying for that, right? What this will allow you to do is it will allow you to set a start date and an end date to these tasks, and set dependencies. So you have to finish one before the next one starts. So it's like a full project management software. That's what the premium function enables. And then you'd be able to see that all on the calendar, which is super, super cool. Or even a timeline, like a Gantt chart, right? And unfortunately, since I don't have, the premium, I would love to be able to look at a Gantt chart with all of my projects that have durations and stuff, but it's just not worth it for me at my point where I am right now in my business, for me to pay, 50, or like $200 a month or something for my team. It doesn't seem to make too much sense, right? So
yeah, you're optimizing the workflow capability,
correct,
which Asana does really well.
Yes,
the
it does.
The project management and reporting, not less needed for what you're describing today, which is great.
That's right. That's right. And I think, you can use ClickUp, you can use Monday.com, you can use any project management software. I just want you to, whatever you use, integrate it with your email, so that the friction between email and your project management software is easy, and it's available on mobile, right? So that you can, whenever you have an idea for you, right, you put it down in your mobile device and you're like, this is something I gotta do later. I don't have the time to do it right now, but at least I want to do that, right? You put that in, right? And once that's in there, you have the ability to either manage it for yourself, or you can give it to an assistant, right? And then the other thing is, I don't want to get lost down this tangent here, but I want to cover SOPs. So inside of Asana, this is how to do my business. This is everything, okay? And this may seem like a lot to a lot of people, right? To anyone that's watching, you may just be completely intimidated or kind of glazed over. Well, here's the thing. I had my VA build the structure for this. So I said, hey, I want an SOP library. Here's how I envision it. I envision it to look just like this, right? Except I want different columns, right? For each, leg of the business that'll eventually become a specific person later on, right? Obviously, when you're just starting out, Matt, Alina, you guys know that we have to put on multiple hats. We got to be a marketing person. We got to be the CEO. We got to be the operations person, all of that, right? So that's you or your assistant doing multiple roles. But at least you can start building SOPs. And what I do is I build SOPs directly in Asana, because inside of Asana, you can take this link, right? Like I can put detailed subtasks in here. And then what I can do is I can create a link right here. I copy this link and I literally can paste it directly inside of a task, right? Like let's say for Alex, right? This is, we're doing a podcast with him, right? Here is the SOP for how to do this right here. And here is the spreadsheet that handles all the logistics, like, you know, the production info, the photos, the descriptions, all that stuff that came in from the Google form, right? All in this one task. Now, if you guys know, as a podcast producer, if you want to duplicate this task, all I got to do is go over here and literally duplicate it. And everything in here stays the same. So the SOP stays the same. It links to the same SOP. It links to the same project. It's just a different episode with a different due date, right? So you're building these small structures of repeatable processes that can happen over and over again that's linked to an SOP that's built out here somewhere. And the key to all of this, guys, is even if you're not an integrator or you're not a detailed person, you can hire someone who is, and you can talk through building something like this with that person. You just need an example. So that's why everyone says you got to build internal processes, you got to build processes, right? But no one's ever showing what that actually looks like, you know? And so here I'm showing you guys what this looks like at this point in time for me on how to do delegation from a simple task going all the way to a project inside of a project management software like Asana or Monday or ClickUp or whatever you want to use, to be able to control when things are due and have it so that you're not having emails flying all over the place, right? You have your SOPs in one place, you have your comments for this individual task all in one specific place right here, you know? So if there's a question about something, it'll go right in here. And then anytime there's an update, you can set it up so that you can get an email update directly from Asana, which is what I have here. And I wanted to show you that. This is what these updates are. These, you can see things that have been either due soon or that you've assigned to others or have been completed, right? And you can get a daily digest if you want, right up here, you know. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you on that piece. So I'll go ahead and stop right here and see if there's any questions.
This is great. This is really helpful. On your email, I noticed the colorful tags for the audience and for myself, admittedly. I imagine I can YouTube this rather quickly, but love the way that kind of like pops and shows like what the topics are. And then you have the organizations on the left. Is that as simple as you're creating the labels and then you have rules and filters based on who it's coming from and where it's coming from that it tags it? Like I noticed some of these don't have it, so maybe it doesn't fit a rule. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, because you know, honestly, like some of these things, like it takes time because eventually, like for the most part, I would say that 90% or more of my emails that come in get automatically handled, which means, you know, obviously this I'm not reading every day, right? I'm not reading this thing, but what happens is I want to keep it because in case that there's something I want to research later, right? Or if I want to look at like, so the easy example that I give is for broker communication. I get tons and tons of broker emails. I'm sure, you know, Matt, you and Alina do also.
Yeah.
So what I do is I put the broker communication in a specific label and I mark it as read every time. Now, if I want to search for, I don't know, Lexington, Kentucky, right? Instead of just deleting it or removing myself from the emailing list, I want to actually see a history of everything that has been there because I can search for a specific property or a market, right? So for instance, I'll put Lexington right here in this. And everything that has ever been sent to me about Lexington is here. And I have more than enough information. So I'm using my email inbox as a reference library and a task list instead of a dreaded to-do list, right? Like, oh man, like I have 1,000 unread emails. That's never happened to me. And this just comes from my experience as a project manager and an engineer that I've just done to have to adapt like over and running a business on the side. I just had to do this over 10 years because in order to keep myself organized, like there's a very, very strong possibility if I miss something, that's a problem, you know? So for instance, to set something up like this, I'll go ahead and run through an example right now because I noticed that this one, for instance, is not, it probably should be filtered, but I don't have it set up yet. So this is what I would do in Gmail. Outlook is way different. So if you guys use Outlook, just take a, you know, I apologize for a minute, just bear with us. But here's how you do it, right? You pull up this email and then you go over to filter messages like this. Okay. Filter messages like this allows you to basically search your email inbox for every message like this that would be applied to this label that you're about to create, right? And so this is what it would look like. These are the emails that would receive this action you're about to do. Okay. So once you have that, you want to filter this email from this specific email address, or maybe it has the words like, you know, marketing only or something, you know, like if let's say that you get an email from an investor friend of yours and they have newsletters and then they have personal emails, right? Well, in those newsletters, you got to find the words that repeat over and over again. And so add in that extra criteria to separate what you want to do, right? So just keep in mind, you know, when you're building these filters, be intelligent about how you want to separate out what goes where, because you don't want to mark everything as read that comes in, because they may send you a personal email and this filter may apply to something that was meant to be for the newsletter, right? So you got to be
Yeah.
careful about that type of stuff, right? But in this
Yeah.
simple example, I would just go ahead and create this one that says search. And then I'll go ahead and confirm that these are indeed what I am intending it to do. And then I'll create the filter. And this particular one, I don't need to be notified that it's something I need to pay attention to. So I'll mark it as read, and then I'll apply a label, and I'll go ahead and put in, let's see, this one will be probably under this property. So I'll pick this label. And then the key is right here, also apply filter to 9 matching conversations. So if these were unread, for instance, right, then it would mark it as read and it would apply the label here. So if you guys have a ton of emails, right, like 1,000 emails, I can guarantee you that with this method, if you set up your labels intelligently, right, from the beginning, and you sit down, get your email in order, you could get to like half of them. Like you could go from 10,000 to 5,000 in like an hour in doing this. And the great thing is this is a gift that keeps on giving. You will not get that count keep increasing over time. And you just have to shift your perspective and your relationship with your email inbox, because now you want your email inbox to be a organizational tool and a reference library for you, not something that you dread going to every day. And then the other piece to that, so once this loads, right, like it'll give you an example of like what it does. So here you can see here that this is now, you know, this is now part of this label. So if I go back to the inbox, you can see here that this label has been applied. And then you can do some really cool stuff. Like you can change this so that the color is different, right? Like you can make the color that color. So then it changes instantly. So you can kind of work on the aesthetics however you want to. And so that's how that works here. And then the last thing I'll show about email, because I know we're talking about social media and delegation, but email is good because it's, again, everyone has it in common. It's always a thing. I don't like the important flags here in Gmail because it clutters the space. I just like to use these starred tasks as something that I need to be reminded of. And I have this as like a behavioral thing because every time I look at email, right, I can see the starred things, the commitments that I made, or the things I need to reach out to as showing up on top all the time, right? Then I have the things that haven't been filtered or the things that haven't been, that need attention as this section, and then everything else, which I've already done. I've already made a decision on to whether or not I need to see it or not, right? Whether it's broker communication or whatever, okay? So the way to set this up, guys, is you go under the settings and you go to see all settings here. And then you go to inbox, and then you change it from whatever you have here to priority inbox. And you can actually set what sections you want in each. So I have starred first, which is what you saw before. Then I have the unread section, and then I've got everything else. Now, another cool feature here is if, let's just say that you really want to see all the broker communications, right? Because you want to be up to speed on deals. Maybe you're missing out on deals, right? Or you're feeling maybe there's some FOMO there. Well, here's the cool thing. You can go here to more options, and you can actually select broker communication as a section in your email inbox. So if I do this, I'll show you what happens. I'll hit save changes. And now you can see a bunch of different sections in my inbox. I can see starred, I can see an unread section, and all my broker communication coming in right here in one place. All right. How does that sound? Alina, Matthew, you guys got any questions?
Sounds amazing. I don't want you to mess up your inbox because you're showing us this. So hopefully you can undo it. in time. Amazing tips, Derek. Thank you so much. In terms of the project management tool, you said it's a free version. Does it allow you to kind of assign roles where you are more or less the system admin and then other people can only assign or reassign tasks, but they cannot create new ones, so to speak? Like,
I think so. There should be a way to do that, although I know that right now, we just have administrative controls in place where we're like, hey, don't do that. Like, there might be. I know that there is definitely a difference between access level, like an admin, for instance. I'm an admin of this workspace. I can add and remove people from tasks or from projects or from like teams. And other people can't do that. So from that standpoint, I know there is a little bit of control. I think at this point though, Alina, I think that's going to be more of a question as to what tool is right for you. Because you can use Asana. I just like Asana because it's very, very project management focused. And as a project manager myself, I can relate with this very well.
Sure.
Whereas ClickUp and Monday.com have extra features that make it a little bit harder to learn on the learning curve and is a little bit more complicated. And at least for me, I want just a purely project management tool, nothing else. Like I don't need to muddy the water. And Asana has a lot of great integrations with Zapier, which is another thing that I'm obsessed about. And Zapier, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with Asana, just because it's a very well thought through app, and it's very, very powerful. And again, Monday or ClickUp, whatever you decide to use, they also have those features as well. It's just a matter of what tool is right for you.
Wednesday.
Yep.
Today's one. I'm joking, of course. Today's Wednesday, but anyway.
Yes, of course.
Another thing you mentioned is you said that you had your VA create SOPs.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about that because these are the SOPs that you've established. So was your VA kind of following your lead in terms of what to put into SOPs?
Yes. So very, very good question. So here's how it works. We actually have a different so what we do is I actually record a Loom video.
Okay.
Okay. I use Loom to basically say, here's what I want you to do. And once I have that, I give him the tools to be able to say, okay, take what I've done for this, workflow, right? This is how it's supposed to work from A to Z. And so that's on you as the owner or whoever is the process owner, is you do have to do it one time, or you have to at least point them in the right direction to try to figure it out. The more definition you give for an SOP, the better. You can take a Loom video and just walk straight through it. Then you can have them take the Loom video, right? And you can take the audio and put it into something like otter.ai, right? Or maybe in Loom itself, there's a feature, but you can create an outline. And then once they have your audio and your video, they should have everything they need to generate an SOP step by step. Even if they're just rehashing what you said in the video, that's up to them, right? That's up to them to be able to create the subtasks. And so we haven't done this yet for this particular item, but you can see that we have for this one, right? Where, there's a video here, or a spreadsheet here that we have. And then he basically took the time to basically drop in a very detailed list on as to how to do it. So you can create an outline for them, or you can use a video on Loom or a Zoom video or whatever works for you, and then have them build it for you.
Excellent idea. Love it. Thank you.
So this kind of feeds well into the final topic that I have for today, before we have any questions from either you guys or from the audience, which is how to use this for social media, right? Now, as you guys know, I'm pretty active on social media, but the secret is that I actually spend maybe 3 hours a month, if that, on social media, and the rest of it is my assistant. And here's how that works. So inside of I have a Google Drive set up with my assistant, and what he does, let me go ahead and log in as him real quick. What I have him do is I have him look online for image content that maybe I would like, because he knows me, right? My assistant knows me really well. And so what he does is he'll take a look online and he'll pull images that look great, right? That things that would be right up my alley. And I do this too. Like I find some stuff that I think is really, really cool. There's some people that I follow that I really admire and that I want to basically comment on, right? So if I see something I like, in here, what I will do is I'll have this up. I'll have this particular, folder up exactly. And then I'll go in here and I'll say, okay, I'm going to talk about this particular one, right? So you can see I maybe have something to say about this. So what I would do is I pull up Loom, and I don't know if you guys can see Loom. Can you see the Loom
Yeah, we can.
dialog box here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can.
So I would pull up Loom, and I would literally talk into the computer while I'm explaining what I like about this. Okay. And then once I'm done with that one, then I'll go to the next one while Loom is still on. And then I'll go ahead and pull this one up and then start talking about this particular one, right? And I'll just say what I really like about this a lot, right? And then I'll keep doing this. I'll keep going over and over again. Like I'll say, okay, this one's good too, and this is why I like this one, or so on and so forth. And you guys get the picture. But the idea is that you have one video with all of these image posts, right, that you're commenting on as to why you like it. Now, once you have your video, okay, you can use a tool like Otter, which is over here. Let me pull that up. Or any transcription service that you can find out there. But Otter is one of our favorites just because it's been like we've used it for so many different projects, and it's just like a great tool. You can use it to upload videos to it, and then it spits out a transcript of what you said. Now think about it, right? You have an image, you have a transcript of you talking about that image. What's to keep you from going to ChatGPT and taking your transcript and creating social media posts out of that? It used to be, before the days of ChatGPT, guys, I had to ask my VA to create copy, right? Using copy.ai, which is an old website that, does like Jasper or something, right? That would allow you to do all of that. But basically, you use your transcript to create a social media post. And once you have the social media post and the image, right, or the video or whatever it is that you want to post on there, you take the transcript, you run it through ChatGPT, you go through a few iterations to make sure that the copy sounds right, that there's an appealing hook, that there's a long enough or a short enough description of what it is that you're trying to say. And then what you do is you go into your social media publishing platform, and then you schedule those posts out on social media, right? You schedule them all out. And then the secret sauce for me, which I don't know if you guys know this or not, Alina and Matt, if you guys have been following my social media campaign, it appears as if I post different content on all the platforms on different days, right? But that's not actually what's happening. I just have a very big batch. Like I do a batch of like 20 or 30 posts all at one time, and then you scramble them. So you put, for instance, piece number one, right? Video number one, that may be day number one on LinkedIn, but it's day number 15 on Facebook. And then you have post number 16 as day two on LinkedIn. And then day number two on Facebook is video number 5, right? And so you just scramble it so that people don't know that you're not generating unique content on all these different platforms at every, because if they really want to find out more about you and they see that you constantly blast stuff out across all of your platforms, that's boring. They're probably going to only follow you on one platform. But if they see that you're putting unique content out on all these different platforms at different times, that's where you can get a little bit more traction, right? For the same amount of information, right? And so that's kind of like the SOP that we've created, right? Is like I get on there, like, and I'm both my VA and we are both like ripping content that we find really inspiring, whether it's text or whether it's images, and putting it into this Google Drive folder that I just showed you down here, right? And some of the stuff was posted a long time ago, right? And some of it is new. And so I can take some of the stuff that was posted a long time ago and then have my assistant rebrand it and like redo the artwork, or you can use AI even to redo some of the artwork, right? and make the infographics. Use Artbreeder or use Midjourney or something, right? And then with your audio track, you can use that to help build. And so if you think about the time it takes for me to do this, right, guys? Like all I got to do is show up here, right? Pick some of these that I like and talk about it for an hour, right? About 10 to 12 posts, right? And then he has a clip that he can basically take my words, create a social media post out of it, and then basically redo the graphics and schedule it on social media. And then all I got to do is check it before it gets posted and finalized, right? And then it gets scrambled so that you can't tell, that it's all coming from the same batch of posts. Anyway, let me stop there and see if you, Matt and Alina, have any questions, or maybe if the audience does, if that makes sense, what we're doing here.
Yeah, I have. This is great. This again, huge value. Thank you, Derek. Just sharing your life and how you structured it.
Sure.
Clearly, a lot of thought and refinement went into this. Like as I listen to you talk, I'm like, this is just like iterations and iterations, right? I'm sure you went through
yeah.
to kind of reach this point.
For sure.
For myself and for anyone even listening, right? Just reminding you that you will highly unlikely that you'll reach this level of organization and speed, right? It's trial and error, I think, over a long period of time. Even you giving us the playbook, right? It's still going to take.
Yeah. I will say, Matt, that we had to do this out of necessity because we were spending all of this time, in these places around the world where we could be out enjoying ourselves. This is the time freedom piece that we needed, right?
Mhm.
We had location freedom, we had financial freedom, but we couldn't seem to get out of our business, right? Like that's generating income for us, but we couldn't seem to like get ourselves free from that, right? And
Right.
that's what this was meant for, is we had to refine this over time, because I'm sitting here literally like talking with investors on the phone or building social media posts, looking at the beach, right? Where my wife is out in the ocean and I'm sitting here trying to like, get the campaign up and running, right?
Right.
And that's
right.
when the aha came up. It's like, I got to work on this time freedom too. So how can I get it so that I can shrink the time that a VA needs me and my decision-making skills and my content creation skills, right? As the person that I am to get to where I am, shrink that down to an hour or two a day, and then let them, so I'm not the bottleneck, right? Like I've created these processes so that there's time freedom there. Anyway, I've said enough.
The big $1 million question is, this all pinned under the VAs, virtual assistants, finding good qualified people. So share with us your process and how you did that.
Yeah.
That's without those folks, it's right.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the beauty. Here's the beauty of it. And this is probably going to blow you away, but I have one VA. He is doing
helps you manage all this.
Yes, this is all one VA. He's doing all of my podcasts, all of my social media, all of my email communication, all of my asset management, like the financial, the bookkeeping, and all of that, and all of my like website admin stuff like that, and also doing basic email monitoring. Right? He's doing all of that, and the reason he's able to do that is I've given him the tools, guys. Like I've told him how to do these things, and we've worked together to make the most efficient use of AI tools, right? And make the most efficient use of templatizing things and SOPs, right? So I don't need another VA at all. So it's just him, me, and my wife, and he's handling everything. And so, and I'm paying him $8 an hour, and 2 of those $8 an hour is bonus. So if he doesn't hit his KPIs, then he doesn't get paid for those $2 an hour.
So where did you source him? Was it through Fiverr, a company? How many did you go through to kind of find this superstar?
Yes, good question. So we did go through a lot, but basically, for those who are looking for someone like this, if you're looking for a super VA, right, like an assistant, basically an executive assistant, you need to find someone, it's my opinion, that has strong English, that has a rate that you can afford. So most likely it's going to be Philippines or Indonesia, somewhere like that for what you're looking for. I found someone through a service, and
like a search service, or sorry,
it was a white glove service. It was a white glove service that provided, and I found the VA. And when I found out what they were charging me and what they were getting paid, like as soon as I found that out, like we just kind of, like we took care of things.
Took it offline. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we took care of things.
How did you Derek, how did you go about giving up the security, if you will? Because you mentioned asset management, your emails. I'm sure there's some stuff that would not be
Yes.
shared with many folks.
Yes. One word, LastPass.
What was
So
that?
with the password, LastPass,
It's a
or like some password manager, right? And the key there, a lot of people don't realize, well, I'm still giving them password. Yes, it's true, but there's an option in LastPass to give them password without seeing what the text is.
right.
So you give it to them and then they can go to the website and then all it shows up is little dots for them, but it gets populated and they automatically get access to that, but you can turn it off anytime you want. So if you suspect anything, you basically unshare with them and then that's it. They don't have any access. So I actually had to go through this exercise once where I had to cut everything off and it took me literally 15 minutes to cut everything off. So, yeah.
But did you do it gradually? Because even with UVA not seeing your password, there is still some information that is somewhat sensitive and private that
That's
you're
correct.
careful about sharing with others.
100%. Like, so for instance, if you bank with Chase, right? For instance, we have a few properties that we bank with Chase. They have a feature in Chase where you can give someone view only access. So they can't see the account numbers, they can see the transactions and they can see the dollar amounts in there, but they can't see the EIN numbers, they can't see the addresses, they can't see any of that. So it just depends on who your banking institution is. And again, there are ways to do this. Like there are like, there's ways to batch processes out so that you can, for instance, log in every month and just pull a PDF or pull an Excel file and then give those to your assistant, right? So if you have a problem with the access, then that's something you can do. Another suggestion, Alina, is you can get a prepaid debit card and fill, like if you're afraid of giving your assistant a budget, you can get a prepaid card that goes up to like $200 or something and give them full access to it. And then it's up to you to refill it, right? If you want them to make orders for you and pay bills or, do some random stuff for you, that's an option as well. So yeah.
Good to know. Thank you,
But
Derek.
good point. Yes, and it should be slow. You should definitely make sure that this person is worthy of your trust, and be very careful with it. And then the last thing I'm going to say about this is that you should probably hire someone that is not a freelancer or someone that's working that wants to have a full-time job, because a lot of these freelancers, they're just looking to try to make as much money as they can, and they'll like find ways to cut corners and do so. You'll get the best bang for your buck if you can find someone that has a family that's just trying to live a life, right, that has skills, and that wants a stability, because freelancing jobs are like feast and famine, right? Like that's the way it is. So if you want to find someone who is well educated, has a family and it's stable, that's what you need to do, because then those folks will be more like an employee to you than a freelancer. Because employees, you can incentivize, you can say, look, if we close this deal, and then we've done this, Lena, where if we close the deal because of their hard effort in doing the marketing and the webinar and like the extra artwork that they have to put together and the extra emails, I give them a $500 bonus for every deal that we close. And that changes their life, right?
Of course.
When they're being paid $8 an hour. But for us, for you and me, it's like an admin cost,
Yeah.
So you want to motivate and you can't do that with freelancers. So that's why, when you get this thing going and you have the systems and the throughput to have one full-time person work for you, right? Then you'd be surprised what you can use to augment them with a bunch of AI tools and what they can do with just that. So yeah.
Excellent point. Matt, did you have another question?
Sure, I have lots of questions. Sure, yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Are there skills, like for example, Derek? One thought I have is, right, you're on these like for you, for example, or any of us, any of the three of us, we're on podcasts or interviews, and there's, as part of that, right, we have this recording, and that's creating content, but we could chop up this recording into 20-second pieces, right, on an interesting piece here or there. That's like tailor-made, like VA type work. Do you qualify VAs to have editing skills or social media skills, or, right, it sounds like you have a rock star that might be able to do a little bit of all that, but curious if that's something you look for, and if one of those is more
Yes.
valuable than others or harder to find than the others.
Yes. Yeah, good question. I honestly, I think that the number one thing is the right fit. If the person is a go-getter and they have the personality of wanting to add value and they're genuinely wanting to succeed, you got to meet them halfway by showing, especially if you're working with someone in the Philippines, the personality fit has to be there. Like you have to have the same sense of humor, or you have to be willing to invest in the relationship, right? Like for me, I meet with my VA 2 to 3 times a week for half an hour just to keep that relationship going, and I pay him promptly, and it's very professional on both sides. Okay. Um, so if you have that piece and they're a person that likes to be respected and trusted, that's half the battle. And they're willing to take on challenges and they're willing to listen and try new things. That's half of it right there. So that's the number one thing I would focus on. But if you had to go to Upwork and start to try to build a full-time relationship with someone on Upwork or Sphere Rocket or some of these other white glove services there, and then eventually try to take them out from the contract yourself, what I would recommend you do is look for someone that has video editing skills or image skills or social media, because those types of things right now are not quite like AI-able. Like there's a lot of things that you can use with AI to augment. Like for instance, my VA, I'll just say this, my VA was not good at copy editing before, right? So we had to put tools in place. So rather than find an executive assistant that speaks English, we're like, well, why can't we use Grammarly, or why can't we use um, ChatGPT, or before ChatGPT was Copy.ai or Jasper, right? And it was only $100 a year for that. So, or $200 a year. So I can spend $200 a year, which is, $20, $30 a month, or I can find like a Fiverr person to work with my VA to help lift that copy editing problem that we have. Eventually, ChatGPT came in and basically made that problem go away, right? So just think about things that you could do with AI and find a person that can augment that well, right? That the kind of there's a symbiotic relationship. And again, that's why I think that if you have a VA, or find someone that's open to ideas and open to learning, then you'll do great. And I think that's what it is. You just want to find the right person that has a good heart, and someone who wants to really be motivated with you to help grow your business alongside you.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
some of the skills have been acquired over time. I'm sure he didn't know everything
Yeah.
from the
Yeah,
get-go.
we both didn't, and we had to stumble through things, right? That's happened before. But the cool thing is that if you're doing it together and you're showing appreciation and it's fair on both sides, we're both either getting paid fairly. I'm getting the feeling that he's actually working the hours that he's not just charging me for. Then that's perfect. It's a symbiotic relationship that works out well.
Did you start out by trying him part-time, or was it full-time from the beginning?
It was a white glove service that did a full-time thing, and we had to go through like 3 or 4 different VAs to make the right
Mhm.
fit. But the cool thing about this white glove service is that if it doesn't work out, you can let them go and then you're not charged, right? So it's just the time that you spent with that person. And then once they go, then while you're interviewing for the next person, you're not being charged until someone else starts full-time with you. So I had the benefit of being able to go through some of these people who were already interested in working full-time, because that's what this white glove service provided, is full-time VAs. So I already knew the pool that I was tapping into were people that wanted full-time work, not freelance work.
But now that you've identified the person you want to hire, you're paying that person directly, or you just
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, paying directly. Yeah, after our contract ended, like I think I was paying $12 an hour to this agency, and he was being paid 4 or 5, and I'm like, no, that won't do. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we met in the middle, right? And now we're both happy.
Excellent.
So
Amazing.
yeah. Mhm.
I don't
So
see any questions in the chat. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that VAs are, they're essential. And if you treat them right, they can be employees, and very motivated employees too. And so I highly recommend that people look at this, because now we're at a point where we may actually add a VA, and he's going to be the manager for that new assistant. So he's going to have an assistant, right? And we're going to have team meetings and everything, but it'll be like a $4 or $5 per hour person that he's going to oversee, so that he can now leverage that. And so it's great because he's learning new skills and he's excited about being able to do that right type of thing. And we're both going to be better for it in the end. So that's
Amazing.
what it's all about, right? Is growing not micromanaging them, making sure that they have the creative space to work. And you just give them an objective and give them the time and resources to build something on their own. That's how you create motivated people, just like us, right? That's, if we were working a full-time job, that's what we would want, is we'd want an objective. We'd want the resources to be able to do it and the time. And that allows you to be accountable for your own creation, right? So that's the cool thing about all this.
Do you do performance reviews with him?
Every week, that's when we do our KPI review. So if he doesn't hit his KPIs, then he doesn't get his bonus $2 per hour on top of his base.
Wow, incredible. Such a strict
Yeah.
rules. Amazing.
Yes, but it works well because we both know what the rules are and we both like it. So it works great. And if you want to see, sorry, one last thing. If you want to see that, I can go ahead and share what that looks like.
I was debating myself if I want to ask to see your KPIs, but you're
yeah, I will.
I'll go ahead
and do that right here.
And while you're pulling it up, question from the audience: how do you comply with Philippine labor law requirements, Derek?
Haven't ran into that problem. Haven't ran into that problem at all. I know that on the US side, like if you're thinking about 1099s, I talk with my accountant, and because it's someone that lives overseas and makes money primarily over there, you don't even have to issue a 1099.
Oh, okay, easy.
Yeah, and if you use a white glove service, I'll say to that person who's asking the question, if you use a white glove service, you're basically just paying the agency, so they take care of all of the vacation time and all the taxes and everything. That you basically get an expense in your business. That's all it is. It would show up as a line item expense. It would just be a service or something, that you pay for.
Nice.
Yeah.
So these are all created by you, right? All these KPIs.
Yes. So what this is say, okay, let's say that he worked this many hours, right? So we're about to do, I'm going to be paying him soon for this pay period. So what I do is I hide this section here. And then this pay period, like let's say you can see here, if he works 80 hours, right, then his pay is 480, right, with no bonus. But as soon as I start checking these things that he's doing, you can see his pay starts increasing with each one.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the proportion that I'm giving each one of these KPIs.
Amazing.
Makes sense?
Yeah. No, this is incredible. Thank you for sharing.
And so that way when we're on the call, right, with the VA, or we're on the call together, we're like, hey, did you do this? Did you do this one? Did you do this one? Because I don't think this one was completed. And if it's not, then it doesn't get checked. And as you can see, like that just stays behind, right? And it makes up a portion of, his bonus that doesn't get paid out, right? So then this would be the amount of time or this is what would be his total pay.
Got it. And one more question from the audience: how do you pay your VA? Do you use bank transfer, wire, or something else?
Yeah, I use a service called XOOM, Zoom. And it's a free service that basically allows you, well, it's next to free, but it's basically it's the international version of PayPal. And you can set it up just to make, there you go, XOOM. And you can basically use that to pay anyone especially in the Philippines. And it's free to set up to do a bank transfer to bank transfer. It takes a few days, but it may cost like $1 or something for each transaction. So it's really, really small. And it works really well for us. And we have it set up on automatic. So anytime I need to pay him, I just pay him through there. And then I just keep booked accordingly by making sure that wherever I make that payment from, it's my business account. So that at the end of the year, it's easy to pull, how much I paid my VA at the end of the year.
Excellent. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we're on top of the hour, so I want to respect Derek, your time and everybody else's time. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Okay, another question. Now the questions are popping up. So
yeah, no, it's good.
In dollars, and Zoom does the conversion?
Yes, it does.
Course.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll just do one more screen share to show you exactly what it looks like. So we go on here. Zoom. I think it's because
Derek, I'm assuming you've checked that the Zoom is secure.
Yes, it is. The only reason it did that is because I'm going through a VPN, so it's
That's fair.
It's weird.
It's
but yeah,
PayPal service. Okay.
Yeah, so if I wanted to send, let's see, I think I actually have to sign in.
Even UI
Yeah.
looks very paper-like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So let me
Oh,
sign in.
you're logging in through PayPal. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I just want to show you what it looks like. And then you'll see my VA's name too, but that's okay. That's okay. And you'll also see Dennis Shapiro in here too. So yeah, I sent him money also through here. So USD US, or I can send it to my assistant, and then it basically gives you, if you're going to send 600, then it automatically gives you the Philippine peso. Oh, that's too much. $600. Then it automatically converts to Philippine peso, and you can check what the rate is versus what the fair market rate is. Usually, it's pretty fair. And there's usually no transaction fee. Very easy. It takes about 8 hours to a day to process, but it's very, very simple to do once you have this set up.
So thank you so much for sharing. This has been great. Again, very appreciative of your time and this presentation. Folks, this is recorded and I will share with everyone, of course, and you'll be able to go through this presentation multiple times until you can set up your own inbox and your own project management tool. Derek, thank you. And I hope you and Sophie enjoy your time in Japan, and
Thank you.
until you're back in the US, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thanks again, Derek.
Thanks.
No problem. Take care.